Okay.
Okay. Morning, everybody. My name's Narelle. I'm the Executive Officer of CCAV. This is one of a few of these online sessions that we've done. Fees seems to be a pain point for most of our cemetery trusts that we visited throughout the state during this year. We hope we cover some of the things. Please, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat and we'll try and answer them for standard. And if they're cemetery specific, don't hesitate to put them there and we will answer them as moving forward or come back to you. It may also be the way that we form the next part of it as well. So if you've got those questions, please pop them in the chat for me. If you've got a question, same thing. Put it over there and I'll keep monitoring it for Danielle. So I'm going to hand over to Danielle, who's our treasurer, but she's also the operations coordinator at Mildura Rural City Council. Your turn.
Thanks, Narelle. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is part one of a two-part fees session. As Narelle said, I think this is potentially the biggest pain point for most cemetery trusts, myself included. So this session is really an overview, and then, as Narelle has also said, part two will be really guided by what you need, what support you need from us potentially. So we'll make a start. I do have a tendency to talk fast, so I'll apologise and everyone tell me to slow down if I need to. So, okay, as Narelle, is that working? There we go. Okay, so Narelle is the Executive Officer and for CCAV and has a wealth of experience and knowledge. She's our go-to person with 16 years as the manager at Rye. As she's already said, I'm the Cemeteries Operations Coordinator for Mildura Cemetery Trust and Mildura Rural City Council. So this is a session that's been driven by the feedback that we've received. I think we've done 8 sessions so far around the state, 8 or 9, and this has certainly been one of the biggest points that that trusts have asked about. So hopefully we can at least make a start to provide some assistance to you. So the purpose of the session is to review, well, the purpose of our fees setting is to review, assess, develop an equitable and sustainable fee structure for cemetery trusts to ensure that we're compliant with our legal obligations and we can meet the long-term maintenance requirements and financial transparency for the perpetual care of our cemeteries. So cemetery trusts are expected to set fees that are consistent, transparent, affordable, aligned with community expectations, and can continue to support the cemetery into the future. We have a responsibility to maintain our cemeteries into perpetuity, which I think is a really tricky thing for everybody to get their heads around. So the legislative framework around it is the Cemeteries and Crematoria Act grants Class B cemetery trust the authority to set fees and charges for the products and services that they provide to the community. Any proposed fees require formal approval by the Department Secretary at the Department of Health before they become enforceable. Once the fees have been approved by the department, they're published in the Victorian Government Gazette. We actually cannot charge a fee that hasn't been approved and gazetted by the department under the legislation. This framework ensures that transparent fee setting is aligned with public sector standards and gives them a chance to make sure that unauthorised practices are stamped out, I guess. So that's probably the biggest thing. Anytime we look to propose a new fee or we want to review and increase our fees, it needs to be approved by the department and gazetted before we can start charging it. as a cemetery trust. The department actually should. We've learnt that that's not necessarily the case always, but all cemetery trust fees should be available on the department's website.
Does everybody understand what gazetted means?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, just
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so the principles of fee setting. We have a structured fee setting process to ensure our financial sustainability and to ensure that the community trusts what we're doing. We adhere to government guidelines to ensure that these fees are transparent, consistent, and again, aligned with expectations for your community. And the department have provided tools like the fee justification model, land value calculator, to help our trusts justify these fees and to ensure that we can maintain our operational viability. The models are not ideal, but that is what we have got to work with at the moment. So, which I think is where the pain point potentially is for a lot of people. So the role of the Cemetery Trust in all of this, because each of our cemeteries have our own individual needs, we have our own individual costs, our communities have their own expectations, which is why fees need to be driven by you. So the first thing we need to do is identify the community needs to determine the appropriate services for your community, and that the fees align with community, not only community expectations, but I guess it's capacity as well, the financial capacity. The trust sets fees for all the products and services that your cemetery provides. This includes interments, memorials, and maintenance to ensure that you cover all costs effectively. We've got to cover the cost of daily operations, long-term maintenance, infrastructure renewal, and build financial reserves so that we've got our perpetual maintenance funds available for that ongoing maintenance of the cemetery into perpetuity. We prepare a detailed fee application, which goes to the department for approval before they can be gazetted, and we should ensure that there is a direct relationship between the fees charged for the services and the actual cost for providing the services. Quite often we've heard throughout our travels that the fees that cemetery trusts have been gazetted, are gazetted at the moment, are actually not even covering the cost of the contractors that are coming in to dig the graves or to do the works. So this is where it's really important that you review your fees to make sure that you're covering all your costs. Really important that you maintain thorough documentation as you're going through this process to support the decisions, the fee decisions that you've made, because the department will quite often come back and ask you, if you haven't got it in there, they'll come back and ask you to justify the fees, and the community will quite often ask us why we've done why the fee is so much. So have your documentation in the background there that can support what you're doing, and then ensure that your fees are reasonable, transparent, and reflect community needs and fairness. One thing we will suggest is when you've developed your fees, because your fees obviously have to be signed off on by the trust before they can be approved by the department. What we recommend you do is when you draft your fees up, send it off to the department for them to have a look at first. Then they can come back if they've got any questions or they need you to provide further information. You can do that and then get the trust to sign off on it before you send it for the final approval. So that way, at least you know you're not going backwards and forwards to your trust members to get the justification model signed because the department wants more information. And the department are happy to review your fees before you send the final request application through. So the fee application process is to align with the pricing for value Victorian government guidelines, principles for fairness and transparency. We prepare and submit a formal application to the department to set or adjust our fees. So if you've got fees in place, you need to change them, you still need to put an application through to the department. The applications should include your justifications with a detailed cost breakdown using the standardised descriptors that the department has provided and the rationale for your proposed fees. There is the fee justification model. That's what we've got at the moment, and that's what the department uses. It helps to demonstrate the cost drivers behind each fee for transparency and consistency. So it gets submitted to the department for a thorough review and compliance. They're usually approved within 6 weeks of lodgement, the department tells us, if all of the required information is provided, which is why we recommend send your draft through to them before you go to your trust, because then that way you're doing all that to and throwing before you're asking them to give the final approval on it. And then they're published in the Government Gazette, which formalises and enforces the fees, and which gives you the approval to start charging them. We cannot charge fees that haven't been approved by the department. So that's probably one of the most important takeaways. You cannot charge fees that haven't been approved. You also can't reduce a fee. You either charge the fee that's gazetted or you don't charge a fee. So CPI adjustments. So the department, any fees that are over $50 get adjusted annually by the department and they take it from the December quarter CPI rate to reflect inflation, so that at least the department's trying to ensure that at least, we're covering inflation. Any fees that are gazetted on the 1st of February of that year will be increased by the department, and those fees come into effect, those fee adjustments come into effect on the 1st of July. So you'll usually receive notice from the department mid to the end of March to say what the CPI increase is, what your fee increases are, and then you implement them as per the 1st of July. Oops, sorry, lost the mouse. Okay. So the tools that we've currently got available to support our fee review, and all of these are available on the department's website. So the fee justification model, it is clunky, it's big, but this is what we use primarily. I think there are some cemetery trusts, Narelle, you tap in whenever you want. There are some cemetery trusts that have developed their own spreadsheet and model, but you still need to use the department's standard descriptors. So the justification model itself helps us to calculate and justify fees based on our actual costs to run. And everything's about ensuring transparency and fairness for the community. So the components included are the fee breakdown for trust costs, a land value assessment, perpetual maintenance calculations, and we use it to adjust or propose new fees or beyond the CPI increase, if that makes sense. So the standard fee descriptors are in there. So each standard fee that we have, whether it's for right of interment, memorialisation, has a unique 3-digit code. We need to use that 3-digit code when we're sending our fees through for approval by the department. So there's a 3-digit code, there is a descriptor that the department uses, and then we can add or append a descriptor that enables us to be able to clarify and identify the sites that make sense to us. So use descriptions that make sense to our cemetery trusts for our fees, but you must use that 3-digit code as part of your descriptor. And then the third tool that is, or part of the toolbox that is there, is the land value calculator. I'm probably going to let Narelle talk to land values because land values is not my my strength. So do you want to talk now, Narelle, or?
So there are two ways at looking at your land value, and I can't get a definitive answer about which one is the most appropriate for us. If you're a rural site and nothing in your area has sold for 20 years, your land value gives you a very obscure amount. So it was always of the belief that it was a value to replace or the space that you've got. So something equivalent to yourselves. Because we're Crown land, we don't have that available to us quickly. So there is a calculator on the department's website that will help you, but it also might be worth having a call to the local real estate agent and see what the going rate or your council land value on their rate notices might be. But find something that's most appropriate for your site. So if I think about what I had to do at Rye, the land value was particularly much higher than the one that the department's website kicked out. But we couldn't go on, we wouldn't have been in a position to be able to replace the cemetery and a new site if we used their value. So it's a bit of a juggling act. But what we will do at for the next session is we'll get the department to try and give us a definitive answer on what's the best model on that space. Does that make sense to everybody? Thumbs up would be great.
When you say, Narelle, when you say land value, you're saying the land value of the interment site?
The actual plot. The actual plot. So
okay,
if you've got 10,000 plots in your cemetery, then the land value is one single site. Same with your memorial space. If you've got 5,000 memorial sites, then it's that specifically identified space.
As part with the land value calculator, it also includes there's also a part of it that you include, you know, the infrastructure and stuff that's on your site to try and increase the value. So if you've got roads and pathways, it is quite challenging, is that the word to use, to try and work out, because, you know, look, for us out here, I think our land value, when I just worked it out against for each plot, our land value, it was like $3.18 a plot was what my land value calculated at if you just went on the valuation of the ground, because we're, you know, Crown land in the middle of nowhere. That is not fit for any other kind of use. So we have to work, you know, what infrastructure we've put on and work that across your plots as well. So it is challenging, to say the least, to try and work the land value out. And that might be a very big point for next session. So where do we start if we've never reviewed fees? Before our last session, I would have said everybody has fees gazetted by the department. I've been well, I've discovered that not necessarily every cemetery trust in Victoria has fees on the website, but what I will say is that a lot of us have not reviewed our fees in a very long time. So you may never have reviewed your fees before. So I guess the places to start is go on or check what you've got, have your current fees in front of you. Starting point is you have your current fees in front of you. You have your costs to run your cemetery in front of you, and we think the best way to do that is to abstract of accounts is a great way to start. because that will give you your expenses that you know what it cost you to run your cemetery last year. And we recommend that you gather an average cost. So grab your last 3 years of your abstracts, because you know expenses change, things go up, things go down, things happen. So grab your last 3 years of your abstract just as a basis and gather an average cost. Remember to include things like, you know, add a CPI increase as well, because, you know, include a CPI increase for, and even if you just set it at 3.5% for that. If you're using contractors, contact your contractors to see if they know, you know, if their cost to dig your graves is going to go up next year. Factor that in, you know, have a conversation with them just to see, and make sure you recognise the contributions that your volunteers make. So there is it is in the fee justification model, and I think they set it at $45 an hour for volunteers or something, you know, but if you're sending 2 volunteers to do something, it's $90 for that service. So make sure that you factor volunteer time. While it is wonderful that you've got volunteers, it has a monetary value, and you need to monetize it and include it as part of your fee structure. Because there will come a time, and, you know, if your volunteers are grey nomads who go looking for warmer weather every winter, you know, you may need to bring a contractor in to do the works while they're away. Or, you know, things can happen. So make sure that you have thought about your volunteers, and that you put a monetary contribution to what they are doing, and include that in your fee setting. And then that's when, as long as you've got at least those 3 bits of information in front of you, that will give you a starting point to work out what your fees for your services should be. If you know you've got infrastructure upgrades that you need to do, you know, if you know you've got to replace a shed, if you know you've got to replace a lawnmower, if there is, you know your roads are going to need to be resurfaced, make sure you factor that in as well, so that you can at least have that there and go, righto, we're going to need to be putting money aside because we know this is going to happen. Let's get that incorporated into our fee setting as well. All of these things are justifiable. So we did do a little bit of a talk about common expenses. Now, you may have some of these, you may have all of these, you may have a lot of other stuff. Every cemetery is different. So it's just a matter of, and your abstract of accounts, again, will give you an idea. If you've got, you know, grab a few years worth, because it might give you an idea of those. You may have stuff that just comes up once every couple of years. You know, so yeah, so we think, you know, grounds maintenance, you've got your grounds, your day-to-day operations, you've got your infrastructure, you've got your administration, your human resources, and we've included, no, we haven't, we forgot to include volunteers in human resources, so don't forget your volunteers. And then there's the other stuff. But you will know best what kind of expenses your cemetery has and what you need to have to operate. Okay, contractors are a big one. If you're hiring a contractor to do your digging, if you're hiring a contractor to mow your lawns, your administrative services, if you're paying a bookkeeper, if you're paying an accountant to come and do your abstract of accounts every year, make sure you factor that in as part of your fee setting too. Things like electricity, your web page, what else can we think of?
Everything.
Everything.
Every expense that you need, new shovel handles, mower blades, all of those things.
Whippersnipper cord.
Need to be considered in your building of your fees, because we don't do it for free. Or out of your pocket.
Yes, more's the point. If your volunteers are paying for stuff or you've got in-kind contributions happening, in-kind contributions need to be factored in. They need a monetary value as well. So there is a lot to sit down and think about. And then we have had some feedback from the department, and we've sort of gone because I don't know, we have a lot of fees here at Mildura, and I'm actually looking at condensing our fees just because sometimes too many fees can become as challenging as not enough fees. You just need to make it simple. So the essential fees, obviously, we need a right of interment fee, which is our site fee. Okay, we need for bodily remains and cremated remains, we need an interment services fee, most definitely, to do the burials, again, for bodily remains and cremated remains. I'm not sure whether anyone has a fee for an oversized grave. I think with the way people are going, we seem to be doing more and more that are outside the standard sizes. So, you know, an oversized grave is extra work for your grave digger. So if you're paying a contractor to come in and dig your grave, potentially an oversized grave is going to take them longer to do. It's also going to take more to backfill. So, and when contractors are used, we think cost plus 20% is potentially a way to go with that. That way, if your contractor raises his fee partway through the year, you're not being caught short. You don't have a gazetted fee for $300 to do contract grave digging, and all of a sudden he's raised it to $600. If you've got it set as cost plus 20%, you can charge the $600. If you've got it set at $300, you can only charge the $300 until you get your fee re-gazetted. And then we say an interment administration fee that you can add on to your contractor fees. So the department recommends that with most of the fees, your administration fee is embedded into the fee. So for your right of interment and your interment services, the department have recommended that an administration fee be included in that fee. However, when you're doing the cost plus 20%, you need to add an administration fee on top of that. So you need to have an administration fee gazetted. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. And then all other fees, really, I think I've said it a few times, we all operate our trusts a little bit differently. Memorial permit fees, depending on what kind of memorialisation, but there should at the very least be a memorial permit fee that you are charging the stonemasons to be putting memorials into your cemetery, because somebody needs to be going and inspecting that they're doing the right thing and they're installing them correctly, and that, so you need to cover your costs for that.
Also, the permit application is a cost.
Yeah. So, you know, and you need to cover your time to be processing those applications. All right. Memorialisation, there are some cemeteries do their own memorialisation. Again, I think we're sort of moving towards the model of cost plus 20% on that kind of stuff too, is potentially a good idea, because then you're not getting caught if there's price increases. And you're not getting caught with a fee that's been, a fee that's been gazetted and locked in, and the cost of the service has increased above what that gazetted fee is. And then exhumation. Hopefully, we don't ever have to do an exhumation, but it's potentially a good idea to have a fee there for it. So, and I always say there is also check the standard descriptor the fee for fees and the categories. As we said, we can use our own descriptions to identify the service in the fee, but the submission must include the standard three-number code. And that's pre-generated, so in the justification model. All right. Approval isn't the finish line, it's just the starting point. Fees are a living document, so costs of living changes, expenses are changing all the time. Our situation in every cemetery is ever changing. So, you know, you may get an increase in volunteers, you may get a decrease in volunteers. So it's a great idea to review your fees annually. Like, you know, check them, review them, adjust them if you need to. And then when you are doing a new development, so if you're setting up a new section, start your fee setting process as you start the development. So by the time your development is ready to go, you want to be able to have that fee sent through to the department and approved. So as soon as that development is ready for sale, you can start selling it. You don't want to have an area finished and then be waiting another 2 months for the department to approve your fee before you can start selling it. So, you know, start the fee process really, really early, and then you can hit the ground running.
So we've had a couple of questions, Danielle.
Yep.
One from Kate about what do other people charge. This is a topic that we really cover when we do our in-person in-conversation sessions. So we've got 3 coming up, and I'll get to that in a little while. So we could have that conversation. And then Dan has said last week he buried somebody who had paid in advance 20 years ago. We have no control over what our predecessors and our historical site management provided us, but absolutely an admin fee on your books gives you some coverage for this historical.
Prepaid fees, I think, are the bane, or prepaid internments are, I think, a very big pain point for all of us. It's a carryover, and we've just got to get them off the books. So yeah, an admin fee is all you're going to get out of it.
So thank you for your question, Dan. It was really helpful.
So the resources, the manual for Victorian Cemetery Trust, which was renewed in November last year. Topics 15 and 16 cover fee setting for you. The fee justification model and model user guide. It is a framework. We're all a little bit different, but that's what we've got.
The links are in those topics.
Yeah. And then the land value calculator and user guide is also on the website. We go. So we've got a couple of our upcoming in conversation. So the next one will be about fees again, and we're really happy with this to be guided by what you need. This first session was really an overview. The next one, we're happy to be guided by what you really need from us. And whether it's running through the fee justification model in some form or other, we'll talk about the land value calculator, and then we can go from there. And then 28th of November, social media leading into Christmas. Hey? And we get some good feel-good messages out to everybody before Christmas. So that's what we've got coming up for In Conversation Online. Upcoming In Conversation sessions, as Nicole said, we've got 3, we've got 4 coming up. Metro Melbourne at Whittlesea on the 1st of October, Bendigo on the 14th of October, Lynbrook Community Centre on the 28th of October, and then on the 12th of November we'll be in Colac. Venue for Colac is to be confirmed. So, and Narelle will certainly be sending information through on those to everybody over the coming weeks. There's a bit happening in October. Also in October, we have the annual general meeting for CCAV. So we've gone back to an in-person format for this year's AGM, and we are holding it at the MCG. So 22nd of October, there have been invites. Narelle has also provided information on this, and the invite has been sent out. So guest speaker for this event will be, we've got Neil Baum from
AFL history.
AFL, Richmond and wherever, AFL footballer. And we've also got a person from the coroner's office coming to present to us as well. So it should be very interesting. I think there was a bit of feedback to Narelle with Neil Baum. I think it might have been Neil Baum said, you know, what can he offer? What sort of presentation can he offer for a cemetery? And what was your feedback, Narelle?
Football clubs used to be community-based, now they're businesses. Cemeteries used to be community-based, now they're businesses.
So, yeah, so that's coming up on the 22nd of October. And the annual conference is 25th to 27th of March next year. We were looking at doing it down at Traralgon, but due to inavailability of sites, I think is probably the best way to put it at the moment. We've moved next year's events to the RACV Resort at Torquay. So put a placeholder in your diaries for that one, and there will be more information coming out on that. We're working on lots of really good presenters for everybody for that event as well. So that's, I think, about. Does anyone have any questions at all, or anything they want to share with regards to what we've done so far today?
If silence.
Silence?
Can I add something?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, Ruth.
Please do, Ruth.
I just brilliant presentation, Danielle. Absolutely brilliant. Well done. I just had a couple of things that I wrote down as we were going that I do that might help others. One is every cemetery, I believe, needs a cost plus fee in their fee structure. So for all those jobs that we do that are outside the norm, there's lots of them. I know, like with one exhumation, we had to get rid of all the monument and stuff like that. We actually weren't allowed to charge the family because we didn't have it in our fees.
Yep.
So if you've got a cost plus, we do 10%. I'm actually thinking it actually needs to be more. Then you can charge that. Normally, the reason why we put a plus in there is because normally there's some of our time involved in that as well. So in that case, dealing with a monumental mason, and, you know, we couldn't just charge what they were charging. We added a little bit extra on for our time involved in that job as well. And other things that we might just generously do to a family. We might just say, okay, yeah, we can do that for you, but this is going to be the fee, whatever the contractor charges, plus a 10% or 20% on for us. So that's all.
What do you call it? What do you call it?
I think it is just a cost plus. I asked the department, they named it for us. So yeah.
Maybe
so
I might
just be a cost plus administration type fee?
No, it is in that administration fee part.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it was with other specialized equipment or something like that.
Yeah.
I think they put it under. And we just go, you know, other specialized equipment and extra work or something like that. I can't remember the exact descriptor.
Okay.
But that's really, really good to just pop in there for all those things that you might forget that you need to do, that you might, just once-off stuff.
The miscellaneous.
Yeah, we have, because we have a large Roman Catholic section, Italian community. who have large monuments, when we have to reopen those, we quote them for each individual reopen, because sometimes we actually have to get a crane into the cemetery. Having a crane into the cemetery also means extra people on site to make sure no one enters the area because people can't read signs. So we do not want people walking under the crane or even anywhere near the monument when that's going on. So we have extra people in the cemetery. So that extra 10% on top of the $2,500 that the crane guy often charges us is good, you know, covers my costs, covers anybody else that needs to step in and do that with me. So normally we have 4 people on site when that happens. So that doesn't come free.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
um,
Sorry, I was going to say that just reminds me, removal of ledger. Do you charge removal of a ledger if like in a monumental section? We have actually shifted that. So I'm removing that fee for our cemetery trust because we've actually shifted that back to the stonemason and the funeral director to coordinate. So rather than the cemetery trust being responsible to remove a ledger to enable a burial, we've kind of gone, well, the monument belongs to the family. We don't want to take responsibility if it gets damaged or if someone gets hurt because those things are heavy. So we've actually taken that out of our fee set, out of our fees, and put that back on the family or the funeral director to organise, and the costs are incurred by the family.
That's a good idea. But
Yeah, so-
we still have that safety issue in our
Yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah.
So we can control. Yeah. And I think that's why when we have the crane on, we very much control what is going on, because they will just come in and start lifting without any, normally first thing in the morning when we have a lot of children going to school. So we've got an estate on one of our sides of the cemetery. The kids all walk through on their way to school and no one looks out for what those kids are up to. So that's sort of why, yeah, I think we'll keep it. But great idea, Danielle, if you don't want to have to deal with that. We lift probably, I don't know, a dozen a year. So it's a big job.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons we sort of moving away from it too is because a lot of ours we lift, every couple of weeks, really.
Yeah.
But what we're also finding is a lot of those monuments are aging. So, if a ledger gets damaged or it crumbles or it breaks, we've just gone, you know what, we're actually removing the liability for the cemetery trust.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. So what else have you got?
I might
for
try
us,
and consider. So the other
Ruth?
thing I had with the contractors, I make our contractors contract every 3 years. We review our fees every 3 years religiously. We call on all contractors to recontract in February. We do have to, because our contracts are quite significant, we do have to advertise. We have had the one contractor for the last 20 odd years. No one wants the job. So, but we do go through the advertising process just to say that we've done it, and people don't say, oh, well, you just keep getting them. Everybody has an opportunity to have a chat with us about that contract. But so then the contractors those fees are fixed for 3 years. So and then our fees are going up just with CPI.
Yeah.
So it is. I despise using that cost structure that the department have given us. If I only have to look at it every 3 years, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Unless we've got new developments, different type of thing. But yeah, so every 3 years we touch base with our contractors. It starts in February. We try to get everything into the department by early May. So then everything is ready then to go on the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of helps not having to revisit that stupid.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yep.
That stupid thing. More than every 3 years. But well, I mean, we do it with new developments. We've got a lot going on in our cemetery at the moment, but definitely with interments, the funeral directors are more happier with that too. They know that they're not going to get big increases along the way. So it's always good to have some sort of structure in place as to when you look at those fees. Yeah.
Probably talking about big increases too. The other thing that the department are not keen on is a massive, so if you've got a fee that you haven't reviewed in a very long time and you've identified that it's going to need a big increase, they're going to request pretty much that is a staged approach. There is, for everyone, there is, the department aren't keen on a big impost on the community.
They will do it though if
They'll do
your
it if you
contractor
need to.
fees. If your contractor
Yes.
fees, if you're paying out for those fees, then they will do it. But for your right of interments and stuff like that, they won't.
Yeah, you're going to have to stage your increase. So, which is tricky because, expenses keep going up. And if they're telling, if you have to do that increase over 3 or 5 years, your expenses are continuing to go up over that time. So, you've got to work out a happy medium, I guess, to get your fees to where they need to be, while also, managing community expectations.
Yes.
So lots of things for everybody to think about, and I hope we haven't scared everybody too. So thank you for that, Ruth. Really,
That's all right. And that was all.
Really appreciate it.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes, Cheryl.
Thanks, Cheryl.
So we're not operational yet, so we have no fees.
So you're King Lake.
Yes, we're King Lake. But we were looking at, after going to the trade show, we were looking at on-selling some items to get some income. And that was just, like plaques for pets for people at home and stuff like that. Do those things have to go through the department for approval?
Yes.
Cost?
But you make it your memorialisation. You make it a memorialisation general cost.
Right.
So your plaque fee is for this size. This is the fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Particularly now that the cost plus
for that one is good.
Yeah, it works well. But
because there was like little necklaces to put ashes in, that sort of thing. That all has to go through the department. Okay.
But it's in the interim for you out at King Lake, it would be a really good option to get going and a good practice, a kind of a bit of a practice run as well.
Yes.
And don't forget, you've got some admin fee that needs to add into that.
So really you could set up a cost plus % and an administration fee is a starting point with your fees to send into the department for approval.
Okay.
So you could get those, I'd get that fee setting done and then get that in for approval, and then you can go ahead and start selling your memorialisation once they've gazetted it for you.
So Sarah at Karlroo, we might come back to you and find out how you got your double fee through the department in one hit.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Dan will take that suggestion to the department about the numbers on the gazetted fee, so we actually understand, or the community understand as well. And it also is would be great benefit to somebody who's new, who gets the job as the secretary, to understand what the fee structure, how they relate to your cemetery as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
It's Chris McCracken speaking.
Hi, Chris.
Very much a beginner on trusts, and this is all new to me as I'm listening. But one thing that I heard then that I wondered about was exhumations, and we have an old bush cemetery, Havilah. Can families make a decision to have a, granny exhumed to join someone else, or is it a very rare event? I'm just thinking of the fees that would go into something like that.
It
It's
is a
not a
family
cheap exercise.
and it is a family decision. And it would be the cemetery must approve the exhumation can go ahead, but it's got to get a license from the Department of Health. And you do
Yeah.
really need a funeral director involved in the process.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a, they're not a, it's a, I think the department says it can take up to 6 months for the license to be approved. Yeah, and then so there's a license with it. You also need to have, so cemetery needs to provide their approval. Department needs to obviously issue the license. The cemetery where the remains are going, also you kind of need to know that they're going somewhere else. You need written from them as well. And yeah, it is, but certainly, and obviously it needs the right of interment holder on the site needs to sign the paperwork for the exhumation as well. And if it's a historical grave, you're going to have a bit of fun trying to potentially going to have a bit of fun working out which member of the family is the right holder and all that kind of stuff. There'll be a bit of work involved with that, I would imagine. Because if your cemetery is anything like ours, our old graves, most of the right of interment is in the name of the person that's in there. So to try and find a living,
But you would still have,
Mhm.
so you would still have that in your fee structure. Like you
Well-
have to have it in your, or is it one of the essential ones? I'm just looking at no, it's
we
another one.
added
So
it
you
as something that we think you should have.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Mm.
And I don't know, could you do cost plus for an exhumation for those cemeteries that don't? I mean, we obviously have it in our fee structure, but if it's not, because you're obviously going to probably have to bring a contractor and a funeral director. Well, funeral director, you're better off with a funeral director conducting the process. Cemetery certainly doesn't want to be conducting that process. So, yeah, so I wonder maybe the cost plus would be a good idea for, smaller cemeteries.
That might be a question that we go back
the
to our
department.
president.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We'll ask that question, Christine, for next time.
Oh, and we'll send you a reply as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope you go away with one good thing out of this, and not too many headaches. And remember that we're just a phone call away, or register for the next in-person conversation if it's in your area. We will be running some more of those in-person sessions next year, and hopefully we'll get out the calendar before the end of the year. And the AGM, we've got a few things. We'll be letting you know where we're heading and what we're doing moving forward, as this new excited board have shown that they're very enthusiastic. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Chef.
See you, everyone.
See
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks, Ruth.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.